Hey guys, good morning. It is TGIF Friday, January 24th, 2025. It is 9:30 exactly, 9:30 in the morning Pacific, and this is the fourth Friday in January. We have 5 Fridays. It's one of those rare 5 week Januaries, if you will, that comes once in a while. So yes, it is the fourth, not last, but fourth Friday of the month, of this new year and everything. And I wanted to come on here because I wanted to give my thoughts on something that people have been talking about over the past few days. As we know, this past Tuesday, the digital release of Sonic 3 came out. So now people have the opportunity to not just go to the theaters and watch it on the big screen, but they can also watch it at home. And this is basically known, in case some of you are new to that, is known as the theater at home experience. It is something that obviously got started during the COVID situation and has gained, mass popularity among not just studios, but basically moviegoers as well, especially with those that are still kind of concerned about going, back into a theater even 4.5 years later, because they don't know what they could catch there and everything. And also they don't want to deal with the whole, like, let's say they're taking the kids to go see it and they have to leave the theater because the kids whining and crying. They need to have the diaper change, or they're running around not standing still, and everything. And especially not wanting to spend money on food and stuff. They have that option now, months several months before the physical release, to watch the film at home. So that's what it's called, theater at home and everything, or Fandango at home, or Prime at home, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, basically, this past Tuesday, Sonic 3 joined that realm of digital releases months before the physical release, which is due out in April. I think it's going to be April 15th, I believe. Let me check my calendar so I can get that right. I think it's going to be April 5th. Is it going to be April? Let me see. Yeah, April 15th. April 15th of this year, it will be released. And it's going to have several different covers. It's going to have 2 different steelbook covers, believe it or not. It's going to have a Sonic steelbook cover and a Shadow steelbook cover. So you can have your choice of, either, one or the other. Or if you're a vast collector, you could get both films, or both interpretations, if you will, of the steelbook. You can have the Sonic one, and you can have the Shadow one. And if you really want to go all out, you can have the Sonic one, the Shadow one. You can have the 3-movie collection, and you can just also individually have the movie on its own. So there you go. But yeah, that's when the movie is coming out physically in April. Basically, essentially, like a little over 2 months away. 2 months away from being on Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray, and DVD. But the reason I talk about this is because, as you can see here, this concept art of scenes that were altered, if not removed, was released around the same time as the digital release. Now, I'm not sure if it was part of the bonus features of the digital release, because even digital releases have bonus features. So I'm not sure if this was part of it, and that this is also, and if on and either and, I'm trying to find what word to say here, guys. Either and, this is going to be the bonus features for the DVD, 4K Blu-ray, if you will, release in April. But basically, long story short, these got released around the same time the digital release did. And as you can see, some of these scenes were in the movie and some were altered. There's no doubt. For example, we look at the Chow Garden scene here in this, up here on the upper left-hand corner. And you can see that the general is in there. And I think the reason they removed him from the final scene is because potentially they didn't want to make the movie too dark. Because you see him in that concept having a good time. And my thought is, well, if they would have kept that in, it would have probably made his death in the film, which, spoilers, does happen, too emotional for kids and all that, maybe. And they didn't want to make it too dark. And maybe into that realm of PG-13 instead of PG. Just getting some coffee there. So I think that's why they took it out. You could also see that also in that collage there on the upper left-hand corner. You can see Tom, Maddie, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles out camping. So obviously that's in the film. I don't know. I can't remember. I got to go back and watch it again. I got to go back and see it down the line, or at least look up some clips, because believe it or not, people have been uploading the clips all over the place since the digital release, feeling that, hey, it's on digital now, free range, no embargoes, no like copyrights or anything, we could do this. And that's what they've been doing, honestly. People have been doing that, and I know people listening to me that are big fans like I am know that as well, that, hey, this is happening and everything, so, just be prepared. It's just one of those kind of scenarios, if you will. But yeah, I just gotta go back and see if maybe, maybe if that scene is in there, if the camping scene's in there, because there is a scene where Tom does talk to Sonic, so we have to assume it has to be the camping scene in the film and everything. And I think it's at the beginning. The camping scene film. Correct me, guys, if I'm wrong. But anyway, you can see they got the concept for the camping film, and you can see Maddie's hugging Sonic, so, obviously they kept that in there, but altered it a bit. Again, I don't know if that's at the beginning. I think it is. Guys, let me know, where it's at and everything, and I will eventually go and check it out for myself, because I know somebody's going to have the scene, if not have the whole movie online, because believe it or not, somebody, after the digital release of the film, did put the whole film online on Twitter. And it's not the first time. The second time, as I mentioned before, somebody else did it as well. But it wasn't just through Twitter. They provided a link where you could get the film and everything to download and, have for yourself, if you will. So, yeah, it's not the first time. Probably won't be the last time. But, yeah, people have been providing and uploading clips all over social media, mostly Twitter and Blue Sky and all that. And also uploading the whole movie. So if you want to kind of see if maybe I'm correct about the camp scene and everything, you can go and find that scene online. If not, watch the whole movie online, if you will, because somebody uploaded it. And people, from what I saw, were commenting saying, oh, this is a much better quality than the previous ones, because obviously it's from the digital release. But anyway, to get back to what I'm saying, you can see the camping scene there. We also have a scene above that with Maria and Shadow. That was a scene taken, that was a concept art scene from, them being on the moon, so them sitting on the moon, I think, and watching the sunset over the earth. Now I'm not sure if they altered that to where it's now Sonic and Shadow. I'm assuming they did that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if maybe, that's something they had planned for the film. I'm not sure if that's something they had planned for the film and all that, because we do know that they're laying on grass looking at the stars and everything. So I don't know if maybe the original idea was they were going to also sit on the moon and they were going to look up. And see the sunrise over the earth. So I'm not really sure if that was the original idea, and they altered it significantly to where the moon setting was both Sonic and Shadow, and Maria and Shadow watching the sunset and everything, or looking at the stars, was changed to them lying on grass. Again, I'm not sure, but I can assume that was the case. So we do hit some other artwork as well, giving us an idea. This artwork of Robotnik and of Ivo and Gerald Robotnik, both Robotniks, basically, that was obviously kept for the movie, kept in the scene and everything. That's kind of cool. And then we see, this scene here. And some of these I'm going to kind of emphasize on a little later on their own. But we can see that obviously the Ark, the space colony Ark, exploding, but it doesn't look like it's exploding. It looks like it's going into some kind of whirlpool or something, a space whirlpool or something. So basically, I'll elaborate more on that. We also see that here, this scene, we have Sonic and Robotnik tied up, and Shadow and Gerald, standing above them. So I don't know if that was a scene that they had planned for the film and everything, or if that was a scene that was going to basically take place before Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles got tied up. Because what I'm interpreting with this scene here, right here with Sonic and Robotnik tied up, what I'm interpreting is basically, the original idea was Robotnik would, kind of start agreeing with his grandfather, siding with him, basically showing that, hey, I may have formed this partnership with Sonic, but, I'm not about to risk my life, for Sonic. I'd rather, preserve my life side with my own flesh and blood. So that's what I'm thinking probably this scene was going to interpret. Like, Eggman was going to switch places and Tails and Knuckles would take his place when they showed up. That's my opinion. That's my opinion, but I could be wrong. But the setting kind of gives that vibe off. And then here we see some scenes that will alter, obviously, for, this scene here where Robotnik meets up with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles after Stone brings him to him. Obviously, that was changed. But it does give you an idea that the Robotniks liked can't even pronounce, Latin soap operas. Latin soap operas. If you basically, it kind of shows you that the Robotniks, throughout the generations, like televias. It's easy for me to say. Televias, telenovels, basically Latin soap operas, and obviously, like I said, it's something it's a trait that's carried on throughout the generations of Robotniks and everything. So obviously, we can see the original idea was he'd be watching a televia. That's the word. When Sonic and Knuckles and Tails show up with Stone. So that's kind of cool. Well, to see that, that's where Shadow gets his love for it, because obviously he saw it with Maria and Gerald and all that in the past. Then we see a scene here that got cut out with Tails and Knuckles riding on a bike in France, basically riding away from a big ball of debris. We don't know how that debris came to be. One can assume that because it's alluded to that basically Gerald has the Death Egg hidden away in London, France, if you will. London, the UK, and Paris, France, somewhere in that vicinity. He has it hidden. That I'm assuming that when it got launched, it caused a lot of disasters and debris or something like that. Now, it could also be that debris was put together. This ball of debris was put together by Shadow. We can assume that. But one thing Chris brought up is basically with this scene, it does give off the vibes of something from Sonic 06 when Silver is chasing after you with this ball of debris when you're playing as Sonic. So one could probably safely say that they took inspiration from that, but maybe the reason they didn't include it is it would have been too much of a hint of guess who's next in the fourth, if not future films. So I guess they didn't want to put that in there, not to spoil too much as to who was pretty much a lock for future theatrical movies. And we see some other concept art. We see Tails flying Sonic and Knuckles through a canyon that's being blasted at. We could assume that's because of Gun, if not Robotnik, if not Shadow. We see the fight scene in space between Shadow and Sonic in the super forms. That was kept in, obviously. So as well as the fight above them with the Robotniks between each other. And then we see the concept art for Shadow and Maria first meeting. And then below them are a few other things I want to touch upon individually. We see a image of Robotnik in almost like a emperor, king-like, outfit with a scepter, and he has Metal Sonic standing next to him. And in the background, there are ruins, and I'll get into that in a moment. And then in the next one, you see something that's very similar to the post-credit scene, because in the not post-credit, but the mid-credit scene, I should say, because in the mid-credit scene, bit of spoilers, Amy Rose does show up to save Sonic from Metal Sonic and an army of Metal Sonics. But, she shows up wearing a cloak, a hoodie, and a cloak with a hood on it before she pulls the hood back and reveals herself. So, a lot of people have been, wondering, okay, what, where did she come from? How did she come to be, as far as the movie verse goes? And this concept art kind of gives us an idea that, maybe what people are perceiving could be true. That maybe she's from the future, but, we'll just have to wait and see, what the plan will be down the line. But, like I said, I do want to touch upon it and these two down here on the bottom right, as well as the other one with the arc. So, hold on. Okay, guys, so, yeah, like I said, I wanted to focus on these three scenes, and I do apologize first if I'm sounding like I'm a little ramble-ish. I did wake up a little while ago. I'm drinking some coffee and everything. Just, trying to get myself going and everything and all that. So I do apologize if I sound like I'm a little, like, all over the place. If I'm a little spaced out or something like that, because, again, I just woke up and everything, get myself some coffee, get myself up and going as best I can. So I do apologize about that in advance from earlier. But like I said, I wanted to focus on these three particular scenes that people have highlighted. And in this scene here, we see, like I said, Robotnik with a staff and everything, and Metal Sonic next to him, and some ruin. It looks like a ruined city in the background. We could assume that's Green Hill Zone or San Francisco, whatever, ruined in the background, and Robotnik is basically reigning over as emperor, if you will, of the world. Now, some people have interpreted this as being something from the future, but how can that be? Well, some would say, and Chris even pointed this out, Chris of 3C Films pointed this out, that basically, when you have that race at the end, between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, making a callback to the beginning of the first film, beginning of the movie, I should say. When you have that race between them, calling back to the start of the film, basically, some people have assumed that Sonic, Sonic basically races so fast and gets ahead of them so fast that he didn't, run all the way to New York like it's seen in the mid-credits scene. No, instead, he ran so far and so fast that he actually went forward in time. That's their assumption. Some people are assuming, like Chris of 3C Films is assuming, that Sonic basically raced so fast against Knuckles and Tails, in that little race they were having at the end of the film, that he basically, instead of running so fast, he ended up in another state, in this case being New York, but he instead ran all the way into the future. He basically pulled a Flash, if you will. Because in case you guys don't know about that, it has been interpreted throughout all kinds of DC media that the Flash is so fast that he has the power to basically warp space and time. We've seen that in the New 52. We've seen that. Well, basically, we saw the New 52, I should say, happen because of Flashpoint, and then we saw the kind of like the end results, the kind of rectification of that, rebooting, if you will, in animated form at the end of Justice League Dark Apocalypse. I think that's the name of the film. Hold on. Yeah, that's the name of the film, Apocalypse War. But yeah, we saw that at the end of the animated Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. A bit of spoilers if you haven't seen that. Constantine basically, alludes, if not suggests to Flash, you got to do it one more time. You got to do another Flashpoint to change things back, or at least reboot things to where the future they were in doesn't happen. So, so basically, that's what some fans are interpreting, that Sonic is, went so fast that he ended up going forward in time, pulling a Flash, if you will. And I could believe that, because Sonic has, has basically absorbed a lot of chaos magic, a lot of chaos power, if you will, through the 7 emeralds and all that, as well as the Master Emerald. So I could assume that basically, he's absorbed enough to where, if this theory, this speculation that 3C Films Chris and others are having, I could accept that being probably true. That he raced so fast that instead of beating Knuckles and Tails in the race like he did before, and instead of racing all the way to New York, he ended up breaking the time barrier and going forward in time, and then that's how Metal Sonic and Amy came to be in the post-credits. Again, not totally certain about that. It could have been an idea they were going to run with, but then they thought, nah, that's too elaborate, that's going to be too expensive, if you will, to do for a mid-credit scene. I mean, it's something that obviously they could have saved for a post-credit scene and all that, but not a mid-credit scene. So, basically, I could see that as being somewhat true and everything, but again, these are just concept arts of what they wanted to probably bring to the table, but they probably saw that, we're going to go over budget if we do this. So, I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing that maybe there might be some truth to it, and maybe there might be some hints here, as Chris and others have pointed out. There might be some hints here that we might be looking at, at least in the first two pictures, looking at what potentially Sonic 4 could be about, plot-wise and everything. What it could be plot-wise. Let me get some coffee here. But yeah, what it could be plot-wise and everything. But again, we don't know what the script is. Only Jeff Fowler does, and the people his team does. So we'll have to see what he has in store. But again, I'm not ruling out what people are theorizing, that Sonic could have pulled a Flash and essentially just went so fast that instead of going to New York, he ended up breaking the time barrier and went into the future. And that's how the Metal Sonic and the army of Metal Sonics came to be, and then that's how we see Amy Rose, because when you look at the picture next to it, you see it's basically the same kind of, like, in the background, it's the same kind of like world and everything. You see like a building in the background, which we could assume is Robotnik's stronghold, his headquarters, or maybe even a ruined building. But it's very similar. The image is very similar to what you kind of see, or at least, has elements of what you see in the mid-credit scene with Amy saving Sonic. But instead of taking out all the Metal Sonics like she does in the mid-credit scene, here you have her standing over one big robot that she just destroyed, or basically took down, and you see her in what we could assume is going to be her movified version, I should say, of her iconic outfit that she's had since Sonic Adventure. So I think that's kind of cool. And when you look at the outfit, and that's one thing I want to point out. In fact, I'll zoom in just a little bit here, guys. Hold on, let me zoom in just a little bit. Focus on that a little bit, if I can. Hold on, let me get this out of the way for a second, and let me focus on the image. But when you look at her outfit here, I want you to look at how I'm getting tongue-tied here. I do apologize. I want you to look at how it looks. It looks very basically movified. Basically, as I said, it looks like a movified version of her iconic outfit. But you could tell they took elements from Sonic Boom, Sonic Prime, and even the recent games. But mostly, in my opinion, they took elements, design-wise, from Sonic Boom and Sonic Prime. You could see that. You could see it in the design and everything, because her outfit's a little longer. And if you go back and watch Sonic Boom, her outfit's, pretty much the same length. The same with Sonic Prime. So my assumption is that's basically what we're getting here. We're getting here a sneak peek of a movified version of her outfit and everything in these concept arts that we're seeing. That's kind of what we're getting. And I do like that. As I move this back over here. I do apologize. Let me shrink that down just a little bit more. There we go. But yeah, I think that's what we're getting here. We're getting like a movified version, or at least an idea of what the movified version of our outfit would look like. But again, this scene, if I can work it out just a little bit better. There we go. But the scene here is basically, like I said, in a way, elements of it were taken from if I just trying to even it out there we go, were taken, I should say, from elements of that. Okay, I'm getting tongue tied here, guys. Hold on, let me pause this for a second. Sorry, got tongue tied again. But like I said, elements here, and again, it's early. I just woke up a little while ago, so I do apologize. I'm still getting my mind, focused and everything. So it's a little hard sometimes when you do this, when you're still waking up and your mind is, trying to wake up as well. So I know a lot of you understand that. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, when you look at the image with Amy there, you can tell that some elements of it were put into the post-credit scene, where she saves Sonic from the Metal Sonics. So, one could assume that there is some kind of connection. Like, is this pretty much this concept art? Is this concept art confirming that? Is this concept art confirming that Amy, the movie version of Amy, is from the future? You never know. You never know because, she just comes out of nowhere. Excuse me. She just comes out of nowhere and everything and saves Sonic and reveals herself to be another Hedgehog like he is. So the question is, will we find out whether or not she is from the future, or maybe she's just from Sonic's world, and perhaps a still alive Longclaw who's alive but healing from her injuries, near fatal injuries, is the one that sent her. We'll find out. We'll eventually find out. But yeah, this is a good theory. It's a good theory that elaborates with what I mentioned about with the picture next to it with Robotnik pretty much ruling over like an emperor. So that's it. That is a good theory. Now, some could probably assume that maybe she's not from another time. That like Tails, she's from another world. A world similar to Sonic's, and that like Tails, she saw Sonic and maybe she realized, hey, there's another one out there like me. I thought I was the only one. Like Sonic thought he was the only one. There you go. Could work. And that could also open the doors maybe for Sonic 4 and 5 and 6 to explore other potential, I guess you could say, environments with characters from the games, if they want to go there. Like, for example, when you have Knuckles, we know that he had his grandfather, uncle, if you will, appear to him in the Knuckles series. But there is another Echidna. Now, I know people are hoping for Rouge the Bat. We're going to get Rouge. I've got a feeling that's pretty much a done deal. Just how and when she shows up is up to Jeff Fowler and his crew. But I think all signs are pointing towards the Shadow spin-off series. Should that go on as initially theorized and planned. But yeah, she's pretty much a lock. But there is another Echidna that you can bring into the fray. You can bring into the fray, and that's Tikal. Tikal is another Echidna. We have not seen her yet, and I think if there's any time for her to show up, it's either going to be in a future Sonic movie or another season of the Knuckles show. That pretty much is where you're going to see her. So, yeah, I think the groundwork's being laid to where we'll find out that there's more of Sonic's kind, out there than he thought, as well as we'll see that there's more of Tails' kind and there's more of Knuckles' kind, if you will. So I think we're kind of getting an idea of, hey, there's more of your species out there than you think. They're just scattered about in different worlds. And Amy could be like a Tails. She could be from another world that saw, hey, there's another Hedgehog like me on this planet. I'm going to go, find him and bring him to my world. And, we could live together and maybe repopulate, if they want to. If that's pretty much one of the things she wants to go and find him for. But I don't think that would be it yet. I don't think that would be it yet. They might save that for like later on in the future, but if that's what they decide to do. But she could see, like Tails, that, hey, there's this other guy out there that's like me, another Hedgehog. Maybe I'm not alone. I've got to go meet this guy and, find out how, find out where he's from, how, what world he's from, and everything, and what this world is that he's, on right now. So That could be one direction they go with as well. I mean, yeah, it's very identical to Tails, but I think it might work. I think it might be the more logical, if not more financially realistic idea to go with. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do that, but you never know. You never know. Again, there's three options. She is either from the future, she's from Sonic's world, and she's another hedgehog that Longclaw took care of, but did in secret, just in case something happened. And Longclaw sent her, who we'll probably find out is still alive, but still recovering from the near fatal injuries. I'm trying to find what word to say, she is from another world like Tails. She's from another world like Tails and everything. But yeah, we'll find out eventually. In my opinion, we'll find out eventually what direction Jeff Fowler's going to go in when it comes to this. But I think the theories that she could be from the future and Sonic going so fast at the end of the film, in the race with Tails and Knuckles, and instead of going from where they live to New York, that instead he went through time, pulled a flashpoint, if you will. I could see that being a possibility. Again, I could see her, being from Sonic's world and being sent by Longclaw to go find Sonic, and then that's when Sonic finds out Longclaw is not dead. She's alive, but she's still recuperating from the neo-fatal injuries that almost, took her out. Or, like Tails, she's from another world. But again, that's up to whatever Jeff Fowler and his crew wants to do. And again, guys, I do apologize if I sound a little ramblish. I am tired. I like I said, I woke up a little while ago, drinking some coffee to wake up. So that's why I'm a little ramblish. Sounds and if it sounds like I'm spacing a little bit, again, I'm still waking up essentially, if you will. So I do apologize for all that in advance. That's my bad. And so let me get some coffee here to wake myself up more. But yeah, I do apologize for that, guys, in advance. But anyway, to get back on track here, that is a possible. All these theories and everything could, be one of them, in my opinion, could be the direction they go, and it might be a hybrid of all of them. We don't know, but yeah, I'm not ruling out potentially she's from the future. And Sonic, going so fast he ended up in the future and everything. I'm not denying that, or anything. I'm not denying she could be from Sonic's world and she was raised by Longclaw in secret. And that maybe she was, taking care of Longclaw after Longclaw survived nearly getting killed. And she was helping Longclaw heal from her near-fatal wounds. And then she sent her to go find Sonic. And that's how she came to be in this world. Or she might be from another world period, like Tails. But we'll see. We'll see what direction they go in. Now, the last image does kind of, I guess you could say, support the theory that a lot of fans have that, hey, this might be a situation of time travel for the fourth film. Because as you see, in the climax of the film, Robotnik and Shadow, just like in Sonic Adventure 2, mostly Shadow in that case, but in the film, in Sonic 3, in the film, Robotnik and Shadow sacrifice themselves, to save the world. Now, in the game that it's loosely adapted from, Shadow's the one that does it. Robotnik isn't. Basically, both of them are presumed dead. While we see in the post-credit scene, that's not entirely true. And there is some other concept art, I think, going out around there where it looks like Shadow may have recovered Robotnik. Like, Robotnik did survive and everything. And, maybe the reason he survived is because Shadow teleported them out with chaos control. Because he does teleport. You never know. He might have teleported out of there in time and took the Doctor with him. And like I said, there are, I think, some concept art out there that shows that, or at least something out there that shows that, from what I've understood, from what I've seen anyway. Let me know if you guys have seen the same thing. But yeah, it's seemingly like one of the concept arts out there that I believe was seen online is Shadow Shadow's basically recovering the Doctor, after the explosion of the Ark. So we'll find out whether or not there's truth to that or anything. But again, Shadow is alive, but we don't know if maybe he's alive with the Doctor. So that's something to look forward to. But anyway, and again, we don't know where Shadow grabbed his picked up his inhibitor ring at the in those post credit scenes. We don't know if it's on the moon. We don't know if it's on Earth. We don't know if it's on Earth. We don't know if it's on another planet, or we don't even know if maybe it's in another time. Again, theories are meant. Those are theories to look at for the future. But again, getting back to this, it shows here that the Ark is exploding, and Shadow and Sonic are the only ones in the background. Now we don't know, if that, if this little scene here, this moment here, we don't know if this moment here, and let me enlarge it a little bit, guys. Hold on. Let me enlarge it here. We don't know, because this looks like it's, this is the Ark here. This is supposedly the Ark. So we don't know if maybe, instead of blowing up, it went through a black hole, went through a time warp, because this kind of gives off, you look at this electronic storm here, this electric space storm here, and it feels like that gives off the vibes of, a time portal. Feels like it's a portal leading to somewhere else. So, and just the way the waves are and everything, one can assume that that's probably indicating time travel. So we can probably think that maybe the original idea, or one of the ideas they were conceiving for the end, was the Ark wasn't going to explode. It was going to get, zapped into the future. And then that kind of would result in what we see in the post-credit scene in the film, with Metal Sonic coming after Sonic, and along with an army of Metal Sonics, and then Amy, of course, coming to his aid. So, one could assume that might be, the one of the reasons, for Amy's arrival and Metal Sonic's arrival, especially the way he showed up. But again, we don't know. We're not really sure whether or not that is factual or not. But basically, I'm not going to, again, like I've said earlier, I'm not going to rule it out. It is a possibility. But they didn't go with that. Technically. I mean, yeah, the space colony did blow up. But the way it blew up, wasn't like kaboom and all that. Like, here's a lot of explosions and fire engulfing and all that. It just exploded in a way to where, it just, I think it just disappeared or something. I'm not really sure. I mean, yeah, there was debris falling, I believe. There was some debris falling. So, yeah, there was an explosion. But it felt like it was the kind of explosion that felt more teleportious, if you will. Now, again, it could be because Shadow teleported himself and the Doctor, out of the, out of the area just in time before the entire thing finally just went kaboom, bye-bye. But we don't know. Maybe Shadow's teleportation caused a bit of a rift, and it caused them to go forward in time. Can't say whether or not that's true. But, again, you look at the image on the bottom, when I enlarged it, it definitely gives off those vibes. It gives off the vibes that one of the original ideas was the Ark didn't explode. Instead, it got sucked into some kind of black hole-like time portal and set into the future, to where, again, we get pretty much it connecting to the the mid-credit scene, I should say, with Metal Sonic showing up literally out of nowhere, along with an army of Metal Sonics, and then Amy showing up to save Sonic as a result. So, so we don't. So honestly, it could be either and. It could be either and or. We don't know. But again, it is kind of interesting to look at that concept art and say, that doesn't look like it's an explosion. It feels like more like a portal or something being opened up as a result. So it is good. It is good theory fodder to look at and speculate as we get closer to March 2027 with the release of the fourth film. Now, they have gone on record and said that basically there's no script pinned yet, but I don't believe that. I think a script has been pinned. It has been pinned and everything. So I think they're just saying that because they don't want to let they don't want leaks getting out and everything of what the script could be or who they have in mind to provide the voice role for Amy Rose, maybe even the voice role for Metal and whoever else might be involved, or whoever cast-wise is going to return. I mean, obviously Jason Morrison is probably going to return as Tom, and I can't think of the actress's name is going to return as his wife Maddie. So. And I think the rest of the cast might show up as well, depending depending on what happens in the next few years. But yeah, I think honestly, everybody pretty much will be locked in. Hopefully, they will be pretty much locked in. Not sure about Jim Carrey, but he has gone on record and saying that he would love that he's open for maybe coming back for a fourth film. But we'll see. We'll see what they have in mind there with him. But yeah, it's gonna be. It's going to be, very interesting going forward, in the next few years to speculate and theorize, especially based on these concept images, as to what the fourth film will be like, and whether or not some of these images were meant for, like I said, the mid-credit scene, at least the top two anyway, were meant for mid-credit scene, if not mid and post-credit scene, and the bottom one was basically meant to give off the vibe of, it looked like the arc exploded, but instead was sucked into a black hole-like time warp and fast-forwarded into the future. So we'll see what they got in mind. But yeah, it's interesting to see all these images, all these concept art images popping up to give you an idea of what was originally meant to be in the film, or what was planned to be in the film, but had to be removed or had to be altered due to reasons. Now, a lot of people have said, and even Chris at 3C Films, shout out to him, a lot of people have said that, the reason maybe there was some alterations to some of those scenes we see in the concepts is because of the writer's strike that happened last year, and that might be it. But, because they did say that during the writer's strike, was it last year? No, it was 2023, right? 2023, it wasn't 2024. Because it would have been, they would have had to push the movie back. They would have had to push the movie back another year if that was the case. No, basically he's saying it's because of the writer's strike in 2023 that kind of caused potentially maybe some of these scenes to be removed that we see in the concepts, as well as maybe even altered because as a result, I should say, because what he did remind us of is because of the writer's strike, the only loophole that Paramount had, or any studio had, was to film certain moments, if you will, or scenarios through practical, if not special effects and everything. So that was the only thing they could ever truly work on, because, the writers and the actors and all of them, they were on strike. So there's not really much they could work with. So the writer's strike and the actor's strike had an effect on a lot of productions, and if these concept arts are to be believed, that I showed you earlier and I'm showing you now, then obviously it affected the movie probably more so than we thought. As a result. So yeah, basically, people like Chris, they're kind of coming to the assumption, if not legitimately, or if not legitness, if you will, legitness of truth, that, the strike probably did affect, the production of the Sonic 3 film and all that very significantly, because, again, certain scenes, as I showed you earlier in the concepts, had to be obviously removed, if not altered, due to the fact that they would have involved having actors, even as background actors or background people, in the shot. So yeah, unfortunately, if there is any truth to that, some of those scenes we saw earlier in the concepts, as well as the scenes you're looking at right now, unfortunately, never will see the light of day outside of the concepting, outside of the concept arts that we see right now and have been seeing throughout the entire week, since the digital release of the film. But yeah, I would totally believe that the writers and actors strike and all that did cause an issue. I will agree with that and everything. I will agree with that. But to me, I look at it this way. If that was an issue, this is just my personal take. If I'm Paramount, I probably would have waited, if I'm Paramount and Jeff Fowler, I'm trying to find the right word to say. If I'm either one of them, and I probably would have waited till the strikes were over to resume production. I would have. And if that meant pushing Sonic 3 to spring of this year, then so be it. So be it. So, but I think that probably would have helped out a little bit better, because that way they'd have a little bit more time to, make the scenes that we see in the concept arts more of a reality, instead of either altering them or removing them entirely. But that's just my take on it. That's just my take. And that's probably what I would have done if I was in their shoes. But that's just me. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about the concept arts that we've seen throughout this week and you've seen in this video? What scenes do you think were truly affected by the strikes of both the actors and the writers in 2023? Do you think maybe they should have held off till the strikes were over to fully go back into production and then just push the film to maybe a March 2025 release? What are your thoughts? And do you think any of these do give us a hint of maybe what the fourth film is going to be like, and how Amy and Metal Sonic and all of them came to be in the mid-credit scene, and potentially give us a hint of what happened to Shadow in the post-credit scene? And do you think maybe the explosion of the arc in the film, was supposed to be maybe an explosion that was more of a black hole time portal like thing that took Robotnik and Shadow, mostly Robotnik maybe, but both of them, into the future? Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. I'd love to hear your take on it and everything. But yeah, give me your thoughts in the comment section, in the live stream if you want to. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Again, I do apologize if I sound a little out of it. Like I said, I woke up just a little while ago, drinking some coffee and everything. So yeah, I do apologize if I sound a little out of it, a little ramble-ish, kind of spaced out. I do apologize for that. But I wanted to get this out there, as soon as possible, because when I saw this, I'm like, yeah, I got to give my thoughts on it. Being a Sonic fan, I got to give my thoughts on it as well. Because when I saw 3C Films, who's more of a movie guy, and than anything, more of a movie guy and all that, give his thoughts and theories as to, okay, does this give us an idea of what Sonic 4 is going to be? I'm like, hey, if that guy's going to do it, and he's known for mostly talking about other movies and really being a fanatic of horror and all that, then yeah, if a guy like him is going to talk about it, I should at least give my take on it as well. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about all this? Comment down below, like the video, comment in the live chat if you want to, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel. Also click on the links in the description to find me in all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates. You can find my BW Rosas Discussions podcast at Pandora, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Audible, Overcast, Radio Public. If it's an outlet, if it's a podcast outlet that has all kinds of podcasts, as a part of it, you will probably find mine there as well. So again, the main ones: Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Audible, Radio Public, Overcast, and many others. You will be able, in many other podcast services, you'll be able to find my podcast at, more than likely. Also, check me out at Odyssey.com at BW Rosas, VENMO.com at BW Rosas, Rumble.com at BW Rosas. Also, check me out at DeviantArt.com at BVW1979, InkBunny.net at BW Rosas. Also, check out the Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Check out the Patreon as well, helps me out if you join that. As well as check out the Cash App and Venmo to help me out there if you'd like. Also, you could find me on Twitter at BW Rosas and at Blue Sky at BW Rosas as well. But again, guys, like I said, I do apologize if I sound a little out of it throughout this, a little spaced out. Again, I just woke up a little while ago, so I do apologize. Still waking up, mentally and physically, if you will. on this Friday morning. But guys, give me your thoughts. Love to hear what you have to say on this. And what are your theories? What are your speculations as to what's to come? And until then, I will talk to you all later.